Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today it's just another quick update on the old ZX81 project. And as you can see, I've made a little bit of progress. We have our switches mounted, we have our contrast control for the screen mounted. Just put this off for a sec to select everything so you can see. And if we look inside, we can see we've actually got our ZX81 board mounted in there. And basically what I've done, I don't know if you can see better on the bottom there. Basically what I've used are let me see if I can get one out now. What I've used are these. They're what you just fit motherboards in PC cases with, and it's a little standoff that takes a standard PC motherboard screw on the top. And it has a thread on the bottom, just a standard standoff post, and it's quite a coarse thread on the bottom of them. But because I've used like 6mm thick acrylic for the bottom of my box here, what I was able to do, I basically put the board on and marked through 3 positions where there was 3 good points to mount the board. And I drilled through the acrylic with a drill bit just the right size, so it was just a tiny little bit smaller than the thread on them standoff posts. And then with a little spanner like that, literally just with a spanner like that, and a lot of trouble. What I basically did, I very slowly turned them into the plastic. Like I said, they cut very you have to be careful while you're doing that, especially with something like acrylic. If you go too hard with it, if you go too fast with it, you risk actually cracking the acrylic and it'll split out. But if you go nice and gentle and just turn it a little bit and then back it off a little bit and then turn it another little bit and back it off a little bit, you can allow them to cut their own thread into the acrylic, and that's basically what I've done. So we've got 3 little standoffs there, screwed down into the acrylic, and if you have a look at it from that angle there, I'm sure you can see the board just sits off just nicely from the base there. It just sets off nicely enough that my ZX81 keyboard and interface, if we can see, I mean, I won't actually use this with its case on. I will be taking this out of its case, but it is just the right size, as you see, for that to actually fit on there. And actually that is it's very substantial. It's very well fitted, and like I said, when I start modifying like the RAM, the ROM, I will need to be able to access the Z80 as well for some different address lines that I'll need to pull off it. I've got nice easy access to them. I can build up here. I can also put a nice heatsink on the ULA there, and there's plenty of room around it. Yeah, I will leave that. No, I'll disconnect that because it does make it difficult for me to actually move this thing around and show you different things. So we've got the board mounted there, and we have the screen connected up now. The screen actually works now. Basically we have a power switch for the screen there. The other buttons are going to do other functions on the computer, but basically we have a power switch for the screen, power switch for the computer. The reason I've done it like this, and the reason that I wanted to use the double pole, double throw switches, is I want to be able to use the screen on this as basically just a monitor. If I need to have a monitor for something, I want to be able to plug in the backs, just switch the screen on without the computer on, and display, basically use the monitor output on the back of the computer as a monitor input and display something else on the monitor, if I indeed need to be able to just use it as a basic little monitor. So that's the reason why we've got separate power switch for the computer and the monitor. And if we'll go around a little bit further, you can see how I've got this all connected up with this bank of switches. Like I said, they're all double throw, double pole switches. We have our brightness. Well, yeah, it's a is it a brightness or is it contrast? Yeah, brightness control here. All the cheap screen that I was using had on it was a Luma control, which didn't really work. Well, it didn't work because this thing wouldn't allow you to input a colour signal to it. But it had a Luma control and it had a brightness control. So I wasn't sure whether it, well, actually, in fact, it didn't work properly with the Luma control, sorry, Chroma control. I'm getting Luma and Chroma. The colour control, because it doesn't work with colour, it's only black. This monitor will only work in black and white, but if you disconnected the Chroma control, for some reason, it wouldn't work at all. So what I did was I measured the, I've got the board here. That's the board that actually did the job. That was brightness there, and that was chroma. That was volume, so that's irrelevant, but that was brightness and that was chroma. Sorry, that was brightness and that was chroma. And what I did is I basically just metered them out and found out that they're 10k ohm pots. So for the chroma, all I did was I took two 4.7k resistors and basically just made like a potential divider, so it was as though the chroma control was set midpoint in its position. And for the brightness control, that is actually a 10k ohm pot, and it's the 10k ohm pot that actually came on the OB truck little case that we ripped down in the previous video. That little, if you remember, I said there was a little headphone amplifier in there. Well, I've just pinched it because it's a really nice pot and it had the right knob and everything on it, and it was 10k. So basically I pinched that off that. I'll put something else on that because we'll keep that for another project. It just so happened to fit in really nicely. So that is our brightness control. So we've used yet another part from the OB truck equipment case. And basically I took the board off the PCB, off the, wherever I've thrown it now. I don't know where I've thrown that now. But off the old board out of the monitor, I basically desoldered the, yeah, off wherever it's gone now. There. Off that, basically I desoldered the connector there, and I used the two top points, like I said, to make my little potential divider with the 4.7k resistors, and on the bottom I just soldered it straight on to the brightness pot there, and it's made quite a neat solution. As you might be able to guess, I'm going for absolute neatness in this thing when it's actually finished. So as you can see here, we're going to loom all the cables. I've just put these loose in for now, and when everything's in, obviously they'll be pulled tight and it'll make all the cables nice and neat and tidy around there. We will probably have to drill some more holes up here, and that might as well get us on to the next bit, which is this is the next part which I've installed, and that is the 7808 voltage regulator. I actually misspoke on the last video and called it 7805. It's not. It's a 7808 voltage regulator, and that basically takes the 12 volts input and drops it down to the 8 volts that the screen needs to run. So that is again taken straight out of the old monitor, and I've just mounted the heatsink that it used onto the back of here. So that should get plenty of airflow around it. That shouldn't be in fact, it's going to get cooler in here than it was in the actual monitor because it's got a lot more space around it. And for just testing at the moment, I've just stuck a standard connector on the end of it. Standard, what is it? Is it 3.5 mil or 4.5? Whatever it is. It's the standard that like Specky and everything uses. So yeah, basically that's it. That's how we've got the monitor actually wired up. Next job is going to be getting the ZedDy board powered, and I'm basically going to do exactly the same. As you can see at the moment, the ZedDy's 7805 is just sat up like that because I've actually used its mounting position there, where its mounting screw is, for the rear pillar in that corner. That will be being taken off the board, and basically something very similar to that is going to be mounted here next to it, and we'll probably just piggyback the 12 volts off there, bring it over. It's no problem running a 7805 at 12 volts. They're well rated for it, and with a big heatsink on like this, it will probably actually be an even bigger heatsink, depending on what I can get, that'll fit around here. It's no problem at all. It will just get a slightly bit warmer than if you was feeding 9 volts into it. So like I said, that's not a problem. We'll have that, and that is what we're going to feed feed the zeddy board for. But that will also, it'll go from there, it will go through the next switch, and it will come then obviously back up and plug into the zeddy board up there. I'll be removing the 7805 there, and I'll either use the 7805's position or this position here, which I cannot remember the chap's name, but it's the chap from Time Out Software pointed out to me that them little pads that I was saying the other day would have been for the American version of the ZX81, and it's where the channel switch would have been. So basically you've got 0 volts, 5 volts, and then you've got a pin in the centre which actually goes to where it says USA 1 next to the modulator there, and there's a little spare blank pin. I may be able to actually utilise that for how I connect my video up, because at the moment, as you can see, I've just bodged it in right into the top of the modulator just so I could have a play with this and actually show it working. And I think that's basically what we're going to do next. I'll actually show you this working and how I've got it running, show you how the screen looks with it actually powered up. I can't put it in the case at the moment because I'm having to power like the screen separately and the zeddy separately. But let's plug the keyboard in. Let's see if we can plug it in and connect it up with the keyboard as well. So I haven't actually tested it with the keyboard in since I put it in the case. So yeah, let's do this for fun. I'll just plug this back up. Get in there. There we go. So that's plugged on there. So that's the. We'll have to find something to. Use my. Just so you can see what's going on. Because obviously, when it's in its case, it will be kind of like sat up slightly like that anyway. So let's. Oh, and we'll have to power it up. Yeah. Have to pull a bit more cable out, I think. Let's just see if we can get a little bit more cable out of here, because I do keep a cable tie around it to keep it neat and tidy. There we go, that should hopefully be enough. We'll plug it. Well, what we will have to do as well is, because there's no heatsink on that 7805, it will get very hot very quick, so we will just temporarily clip a heatsink to it while we power this thing up, and you can see it work in its new configuration. So we'll connect it up like that. We need some power for the monitor. Like I said, it will all be powered from its own internal 12 volt PSU, but at the moment, while we're getting this thing built, so it's just on it's just basically just a lash up at the moment. So we can switch the monitor on. Hopefully you can see that okay. And if we switch the zeddy on, and there we go. You can see that's working. I wonder if is the keyboard going to behave. Oh yeah, the keyboard seems to be working okay. 10 print. What's that there? Shift. Let's go to done. So it is actually quite nice to use in this configuration. Let's run that, and at least you can see something on the screen. There you go. And like I said, we can show that the contrast works. It'll turn right down. It'll turn where it actually bleaches the screen out slightly, and you can get a nice good. It's actually quite good, the contrast control. You know, you can get a nice crisp, quite a decent sharp image on it. I'm rather pleased with how that's looking. It has got the appearance that I actually wanted from this project. And so I weren't 100% sure whether, especially using this widescreen, which I really originally didn't want to use a widescreen. I did want to use 4:3, but it's actually turned out quite nicely with the aesthetics, with the actual size of it and everything. You know, it does look the part actually, and especially like I said, it works nicely. This screen, it actually does do the job just as I wanted it to. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for now. Like I say, it was just a quick video, this, just to show you that I've actually made yet a little bit more progress. Obviously, the next thing to be doing will be to get the zeddy to actually run off the 12 volt power and be able to switch the zeddy on and off with that switch there. And then we will come on to these other two controls there. And then obviously it's on to the upgrades I actually want to do to the zeddy board itself to make it a little bit more usable. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed that little update. So thanks for watching and goodbye.